Okay, so Dr. Holly, when we first talked and we did our pre-call, and you have so many topics, right? I think you told me you have about 3,045 topics that you would love to share with our listeners. We could be doing one of these every day live, right? But when we went through them, the one that jumped out to me is you talk about the art and science of influencing people.
Mhm.
And to me, that's so critical. I think some sellers do it naturally and they don't even know what they're doing. But for so many, it's something they need to be aware of. You talked about this five-piece foundation that's necessary for influence. Can you kind of share that with the listeners?
I would be happy to. So, one of my more recent, I guess, examples or stories as to of how to not have influence, how to use abuse influence, is oftentimes people will reach out to connect with me on social, especially LinkedIn, and the minute I accept their connection, they try to sell me something. And it doesn't work. It falls. I mean, I'm not happy that I've allowed them into my world the minute that that happens, but it happens because they don't have this foundation established. So, in order to be influential and in order to influence somebody to think like you do, to purchase what you're selling, to be interested in your service, the first thing you have to have, and this makes total sense, is trust. They have to trust you. And if you're coming at me out of the blue and I don't know who you are from Adam, I'm not going to have that initial trust. This is why salespeople that are real effective, even when they use social media, they spend time establishing relationships before they try to go into the sell mode. And often you don't even need to go into the sell mode if you establish the relationships correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So trust is the very first one. And then respect, which is a close first cousin to trust, is the second one. You've got to have trust and respect in order to be able to be influential. You also need to be able to communicate well. Tom, one of the things people don't realize is that the words that come out of your mouth make up only 7% of your communicated message. That's a very small amount.
7%?
7%, 93% is nonverbal. So 93% is your body language, your tone of voice, your facial gestures. You can see me being Italian over here, your hand gestures. And all of that is a big part of the communicated message. And in this day and age of the pandemic, when we're doing so much of this the way that you and I are right now, oftentimes we don't get the whole communicated message because we're not able to see the face. When people don't turn their video on, we were just talking about this, when they don't use their normal expressions and use their normal hand gestures, we can miss part of the message. So we have to have trust, respect, good communication, which involves more than just the tone of voice or just the
Okay.
words.
Mm-hmm.
We also need to be considered professionals. Now, that doesn't mean we need to be wearing Brooks Brothers suits every time people see us, right? Professionalism means that we just conduct ourselves in a way that people feel comfortable and they know that we're going to get the job done. They know that we are good, true to our word, and we're there to help them accomplish whatever goals they've set out for themselves.
And now, does that vary depending on who you're with, right? Because
It does.
there's certain factors there that are going to weigh in.
Right. So, I mean, I work with a lot of production and manufacturing organizations that are very large, and I'll train a lot of the line workers. And, they come in and they have certain suits or looks that they have to wear that are very casual because of the nature of their work. They can still be consummate professionals. They can be just as professional as the CEO because of their actions and the way that they comport themselves with their coworkers.
Yeah.
So professionalism can look totally different, but it still kind of feels the same.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think it also makes an impression. If you're with someone and you're not dressed similar, they may look, okay, who's this corporate person coming in here, and they make certain impressions. And then
Yeah.
they can shut down a little bit. When I was first out on the street selling, and now this was back in the early 90s, so, dress and coat, it was different back then, right? It's a lot
Right.
more casual. But I had a suit jacket, a blazer or something, hanging in my car. Certain appointments, it went on.
Yep.
Certain appointments, the tie came off because I knew that, if I'm walking in talking to an oil change place, the last thing they want is someone coming in looking all salesy. So,
Yes.
that professional, like, part like that to me is really important for people to understand.
Remind me to recall that when we talk about some of the subtle things that we can do as assists, because that is one of them. That is very good.
Excellent.
You're very good.
All
But
right.
the last little thing we need for foundation is a network. People will be much more apt to be influenced if they know that we have a network. So we have trusted sources, we have allies, we have people who respect and admire us. They're much more likely to be influenced if they're aware of all of that.
Fantastic. And now, one of the things I like when I looked at your LinkedIn profile in the beginning is you talk about your passion for keeping it relevant, right? Keeping people current and competitive and all those things. Those five fundamentals, they probably haven't changed in 40 years, but how you apply them is changing even now in 2020, right?
Oh, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And it's funny, just like we have different personality styles, we have different ways that we like to influence others and also ways that we feel comfortable being influenced. So there are also five influencing styles, and they really do kind of dovetail into the type of people that we are. So some people like to create bridges. They're called bridgers. And I like to find something in common that I have with you. And I like to use that as a bridge to create a relationship. That's a bridger. Somebody else might be what we would call a rationalizer. So they have all the facts and figures to back up why you should use their service, feel the same way they do, use their product. We have another group that they're called asserters, and they're just really good at saying, you need this, you need this, you need to have it. And we go, oh, okay, because we get right on board with that. Those are the asserters.
Mm-hmm.
We have people that are the inspirers. They usually have a mission that we believe in. So they might use their mission to influence us. They might say, gee, we're currently giving all of the proceeds of what we're doing to the breast cancer efforts. And we might feel so strongly about that inspirational piece of knowledge totally influences us to go in that direction. And then last but not least, we have negotiators. We have people that love the art of the debate, and they'll go back and forth with us until we both have a little bit of a win in the environment.
But the good negotiators, right? Some of
Yes,
them.
using it for good, not for evil. Yes.
Very good. Hey, I want to come back in a minute. I didn't have this in our original agenda, but I have a couple questions on the bridgers and the asserters. Can we come back to that for one more second?